Don't you think it's a little unfair that a regular person like Hawkeye...
I'm out of arrows.
What?
...gets grouped into the same superhero category as an extraterrestrial superhuman like Superman?
Do you bleed?
I mean, they're both superheroes, so they're both expected to save the day with the same relative ease. Only one guy has a massive advantage, no?
I flirt with the cashier, she says that I rock.
Our expectations of different superheroes are not fairly leveled. We just class them all together, but nobody talks about how unfair it is to put them all on an equal playing field. Sure, with great power comes great responsibility, but it's important to recognize that there are varying levels of power.
You people are so petty and tiny.
And therefore there should be varying levels of responsibility. Let's start off by examining what constitutes a superhero. What are the prerequisites to be considered part of this elite club? Like, what makes Hawkeye or Black Widow Avengers, yet Maria Hill is just a government agent? They're all humans, they're all lethally talented at combat and shootouts. Is it just because she doesn't have a cool nickname? If she was called, I don't know, the Lioness, and put on a leather suit instead of a work blazer, is that the only thing holding her back from being a full-fledged superhero? Come to think of it, Thor is kind of the only Avenger without a nickname.
You call yourself Lord of Thunder.
God of Thunder.
But that's more of a title or a byline than it is an alias.
Seductive God of Thunder.
Think about it. Steve Rogers is Captain America, Tony Stark is Iron Man, Wanda Maximoff is the Scarlet Witch, Bruce Banner is the Hulk, Natalia Romanova is the Black Widow, Peter Parker is Spider-Man, Clint Barton is Hawkeye, T'Challa is the Black Panther, Scott Lang is Ant-Man, and then Thor is just kind of Thor. Maybe it's because he's the only individual in the bunch who isn't from Earth. That's a pretty reasonable excuse. There's also Doctor Strange, who didn't really stretch the imagination too hard when it came to picking a superhero name.
Doctor.
It's strange.
He just sort of dropped the Steven part and was like, voila, a whole new persona. So I suppose a superhero is anyone with superpowers, whether natural or not, who fight for good, right? Black Widow's fighting skills are certainly superior to the average person, so they could absolutely be considered super. The same could be said for Hawkeye's archery abilities, or Tony Stark's ability to engineer suits that give him superhuman abilities. They don't quite get bit by a radioactive spider, or exposed to gamma rays, or injected with super soldier serum.
Oh, yeah.
But their powers are undeniably super. A superhero, then, is presumably anyone with a super skill. Does that make LeBron James a superhero? Kinda, only he doesn't really use his powers to fight for good against evil. Unless you consider the Golden State Warriors evil. Then again, Michael Jordan using his basketball powers to defeat the Monstars in Space Jam was absolutely an example of superheroism. Let's shift gears for a moment and talk about what we expect from our heroes. There's the top-tier class who are just overtly powerful. We're talking your Supermans and your Captain Marvel types. They aren't even human beings. Like, they don't even go here.
Is that like a personal attack or something? Or...
They're indestructible and have maxed out powers across the board. If they were a creative player in a video game, they'd immediately be a 99 overall rating. It's almost unfair, especially when you consider other heroes like Batman or Falcon, who are just standard people with some cool gadgets. To group them in the same category and put the same expectations on all heroes across the board is flat out unfair. Besides, Superman doesn't even make sense. How could he fly through the sky without the wind hitting his face and making him look all silly? I'm not even questioning his unexplained ability to fly, I'm disagreeing with the physics of how it doesn't even affect him. His hair doesn't even blow in the wind. Is he literally made of steel? Has no human ever touched Clark Kent and been like, oh, that's weird that your hair and your cheeks are made of metal? Then there's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, who we put such extraordinary pressure on to fight evildoers and constantly save the day. People, do you not realize that these boys are just some teenagers? That's a lot of weight to put on a youth's shoulders. I can get that they're mutants and ninjas and turtles, but above all else, they're just some teens. Cut the kids some slack. Let them enjoy some pizza and stop expecting them to be so perfect all the time. By the way, how do they order those pizzas? Do they just call up and be like, yeah, deliver it to the sewer. A giant rat will greet you and pay for it. Whoever delivers those pies probably has seen some wild stuff over the years. I hope they tip all right.
Never pay full price for late pizza.
Superheroes fall on quite the enormous spectrum. Some are mutant turtles, while others are aliens, while others are the result of science experiments, and sometimes they're just like talented archers or have lots of money. What's fascinating is how hard some of them had to work in order to achieve their super abilities. A guy like Tony Stark is literally just a rich dude.
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
He doesn't need to be doing this at all. He deserves all the credit and praise that he gets because he's opting to jump into the action when it's completely voluntary on his part. He could just as easily sit back and enjoy a life of luxury as a successful businessman and inventor. He's pretty much like if Elon Musk started beating up bad guys. On the other hand, his arch-frenemy Captain America sure talks a big game for someone who was quite literally injected with all of his powers. He didn't spend hours in the gym or training his butt off. He didn't hone a specific skill. He didn't go through years of blood, sweat, and tears dedicating himself to becoming great at something. He got a needle of some special juice and then suddenly can do it all.
Everything special about you came out of a bottle.
It's just less impressive when Scarlet Witch uses mutant telekinetic powers against Thanos compared to Iron Man using the suit that he literally built in his garage. The same could be said for Batman.
I'm Batman.
He and Superman are kind of the two big names that DC Comics has to boast, but the fact that they're compared equally to one another is absurd. Superman is an alien who crash-landed on Earth and isn't even a human. Batman is a crazy rich guy. He bleeds, his bones break.
Yeah. Oh, something is definitely bleeding.
He's just a lunatic. His entire superpower is that he doesn't give a crap. In a way, his only true superpower, aside from being skilled in combat, is just confidence. Much like Iron Man, Bruce Wayne could easily just lay back and relax and enjoy his riches. He doesn't need to be such a vigilante. That's not his responsibility, but he made it his regardless. It's like seeing Vince McMahon wrestle in the WWE. You're an elderly billionaire who owns the company. There's no need for you to be falling off steel cages and getting tossed through tables. I guess they just love what they do. A hero's origins should matter more when considering what to expect from them. There's a certain level of credibility that comes from earning your powers as opposed to just stumbling into them. For the Black Widows of the world, this is something she worked at every single day and was driven to succeed and reach her goals. She put the work in and trained her butt off to get to where she got. Peter Parker, on the other hand, accidentally got a bug bite. You see what I mean? Clint Barton picked up a bow and arrow one day and kept practicing until he was superhumanly talented. Bruce Banner messed up a science experiment. Superheroes aren't without their faults either. They get so much praise and adoration for constantly saving the day and thwarting all the villains, but they aren't completely innocent themselves. Need I mention Sokovia? Or how about all the damage that Hulk causes literally everywhere he goes? Then there's the whole Civil War fiasco where superheroes literally fought each other, because that's productive. Rather than focus on looming dangerous threats, they were attacking one another and causing millions of dollars of damages because of some inner disagreements. Then there's the whole snap. The blip.
They called it the blip.
For all the muscles and awesome stunts and fighting moves that these guys and gals boast on a regular basis, their emotional strength was really put to the test during that entire saga. Captain America stops fighting crime to become a grief counselor. Black Widow becomes obsessive over her work and stops taking care of herself. Perhaps the worst of them all is Hawkeye, who literally loses his mind and goes on a vigilante killing spree. They may all be tough individuals able to kick anyone's butt, but when it comes to mental strength, they all sort of crack under the pressure and prove just how weak they can be. Except for Bruce Banner and Tony Stark, who seem to be thriving in the post-snap world.
3,000. That's crazy.
It's ironic that they're the two who end up reversing it and paying the price for doing so. Well, what do you think? Is it fair to group superheroes together, or should we develop some sort of realistic expectations based on their backgrounds and their abilities? Before you go, make sure to smash that thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe to ScreenRant to stay up to date on all of our latest releases. Until next time, bye!